My parents kicked me out for refusing to pay rent while working full-time, so I bought my own place and told them never to call again. I'm a 23-year-old guy, and I've been paying my own way since I was 16, not because I wanted to be independent. Not because I had some dream of hustling my way out of the suburbs, but because my parents made it very clear, if I wanted anything beyond food and a roof, I had to earn it. It builds character, my dad said the day he handed me a list of places hiring part-time. I was 15 years old, barely had acne under control, and still trying to figure out how lockers worked. My mom just nodded, arms folded, like I was some grown man leeching off their kindness. So, I got a job at a local grocery store bagging groceries after school. Mopping floors, being yelled at by customers who thought kid meant doormat. I'd come home exhausted, hands stinking of cleaning spray, and still get told I wasn't contributing enough. Meanwhile, my younger brother, Ethan, 2 years my junior, sat on the couch playing Call of Duty with zero expectations. No job, no chores, no lectures. When I asked why he didn't have to work, my mom snapped, "He's still a kid." Don't be jealous. That word jealous stuck in my throat like a thorn. I wasn't jealous. I was tired. Tired of paying for my own clothes while Ethan got brand new shoes every semester. Tired of covering my own phone bill while he racked up data overages that my parents laughed off. I started skating meals to save money. Learned to sew the holes in my sneakers. Built my budget like I was a grown adult with bills. Not a junior in high school with math homework, but worst of all, they acted like this was love. Like this was the only way to raise a real man. And I believed them. For years, I believed them until the day they demanded rent. After high school, I landed a full-time job at a warehouse about 30 minutes from home. Decent pay, brutal hours. But it felt good, like I was finally climbing out of the hole I'd been tossed into. I thought maybe, just maybe, my parents would ease up. Be proud. See me as something other than a walking ATM. Instead, 2 weeks into the job, I came home to find a printed paper on the kitchen table. It was a breakdown, my monthly dues, as my dad called it. Rent, $700. Utilities, $150. Groceries, $200. I thought it was a joke. "Are you serious?" I asked, trying to laugh it off. My mom didn't smile. "You're working now. It's time you start pulling your weight like an adult." I blinked. "But I already buy my own food. I pay for my own phone. I don't even eat dinner here most nights." Dad leaned forward. "That's not the point. You live here. You use water, electricity. This is life, son. You don't get to freeload." Freeload. That word hit like a slap. I looked over at Ethan, who was slouched on the couch, eating takeout and playing games like always. So, is Ethan paying rent too? Silence. My mom glanced at my dad, then said quietly, "He's still figuring things out. He's 18. I snapped. "I had a job at 16. I've been paying my way since then. How is that fair?" Her voice went sharp. "Life's not fair. Stop comparing. We gave you everything. You should be grateful." Grateful for what? For being treated like a tenant while my brother was babied like royalty. That night, I lay awake in bed. That $700 bill crumpled in my hand, wondering how the hell I was supposed to act like an adult when no one ever treated me like a son. I didn't pay the rent, not out of spite, not because I couldn't afford it, but because I refused to be the only one footing the bill while Ethan lounged around like a permanent guest in a hotel I was funding. The next morning, I slid the crumpled rent sheet back across the kitchen table. "I'll pay when everyone's held to the same standard," I said quietly. My voice didn't even shake. I was proud of that. My father stared at me for a second, just stared. Then his face twisted into something I'd only ever seen when he screamed at. Strangers on the freeway. You think you're better than this family. He growled. You live under my roof, eat my food, sleep in my house, and you dare act like a victim. I didn't flinch. I'm not acting like a victim. I'm asking to be treated like a son, not an ATM. He stood up so fast, his chair slammed backward. Then, don't live here. Freeloaders don't get to negotiate terms. My mom gasped like I'd pulled a gun. You're tearing this family apart, she cried. Why are you so angry all the time? We loved you. We raised you. This is how you repay us. No, Mom, I said softly. You raised a worker. You loved the idea of a paycheck, not a person. And that's when he said it. You've got 1 week. Either pay or get out. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, eyes burning, suitcase half zipped. I waited for something. A knock, an apology. At the very least, someone to say this was wrong. But no one came. Ethan didn't even look up from his game. I folded my last shirt, zipped the bag, and told myself this was just the next chapter. But the truth? It felt more like the end of one. I ended up sleeping on my friend Marcus's couch. No privacy, no closet. Just a sagging cushion, a duffel bag at my feet, and the sound of his toddler waking up at 6 a.m. sharp every day. Still, I was grateful. He didn't ask for rent. Just said, stay as long as you need, bro. So I worked. 10-hour warehouse shifts, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 when they offered overtime. I packed boxes until my knuckles bled, unloaded trucks until my back ached so bad I could barely stand up straight. Every paycheck, I squirreled away as much as I could. No movies, no takeout. Just instant noodles and tap water. I showered at the gym. Didn't tell anyone where I lived. Even wore the same jacket every day to hide how thin I was getting. What I didn't expect was how fast the silence would start. To feel heavy, my parents didn't call. Not even once. Not to ask if I had a place to sleep. Not when it snowed heavy and the power went out. Not even on my birthday. I stared at my phone for hours that day, watching the screen stay black. Ethan didn't text. Neither did Mom, and somewhere in that silence, something shifted in me. I started to believe it really was me. That maybe I was ungrateful. Maybe I was dramatic. Maybe they were right all along, and I just couldn't see it. I kept smiling around Marcus. Didn't let it show. But when the house got quiet at night, I'd lie there on the couch, staring at the ceiling, wondering what it was about me that made it so easy for my own parents to forget I existed. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to feel like I mattered to someone, and I de-want almost a year into the grind. Something finally cracked, but this time, in the best way possible. My supervisor pulled me aside one afternoon, sweat still clinging to my shirt from unloading pallets. You've got hustle, he said. We're promoting you to team lead. Comes with a raise and some benefits. You earned it. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, went back to work, and that night, I sat on Marcus's couch with a can of off-brand soda and cried for the first time in months. Not because I was sad, but because someone finally saw me as valuable. The next morning, I opened a savings account. Didn't tell Marcus. Didn't tell anyone. Every extra cent went in there. I downloaded budgeting apps. Started watching YouTube videos on building credit, how mortgages worked, how to buy property with a thin file. Late one night past midnight. Eyes burning sigh found it. A small listing for a tiny one-bedroom condo on the edge of town. Nothing flashy. Beige carpet. Outdated kitchen. But it was mine in my head the second I saw it. It cost more than I had, but less than I expected. A long shot, but not impossible. That night, I screenshotted the listing and made it my lock screen. Not as motivation. As a promise, I stopped spending on everything but survival. Started taking extra shifts. I met with a credit counselor on my lunch breaks, started building a plan brick by brick. I knew I couldn't outturn the pain, but maybe I could outgrow it. No, not Marcus. Not my coworkers, not even the realtor. I eventually knew just how personal this was. This wasn't just about buying a home. This was about finally building something no one could take away from me. The first condo I toured smelled like cat pee and had mold creeping up the bathroom walls. The second had a hole in the ceiling the size of a dinner plate. And the third looked like someone had used it as a filming location for a horror movie. Still, I kept showing up. Clean shirt, clipboard in hand, pretending I knew what I was doing. My real terminalist was kind, but direct. "This market's tough," she said. "But you're smart too, buy young." I didn't correct her. Didn't tell her I was sleeping on a couch, hiding instant noodle packets in my backpack like a college kid. Eventually, she showed me a unit tucked behind a gas station and an old bookstore. Small second-floor walk-up. 1 bedroom. Beige carpet. Wobbly cabinet doors. But it was clean, bright, safe. It didn't smell like anyone's past. It felt possible. I applied for a first-time homebuyer loan the next day. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time my phone buzzed, I thought it was going to be a rejection. 2 weeks later, I got the call approved. I didn't cheer. I didn't scream. I just stood there in the break room at work, staring at my phone, hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped it at the closing. I signed every paper like I was scared they'd change their minds halfway through when they finally handed me the keys. I held them like glass. Like if I squeezed too hard, they'd shatter and disappear. For the first time in my life, I owned something. No one could take it away. No one could guilt me into handing it over. No one could charge me rent for it. And I didn't tell a single soul. Not even Marcus. This wasn't a victory I needed to share. It was a secret I needed to protect. 3 weeks after I closed on the condo, I got a text from my mom out of nowhere. "We miss you. Come visit. Just for dinner." No apology. No mention of the screaming. No acknowledgement of the year-long silence. Just a smiley face at the end, like we were some Hallmark family reunion waiting to happen. I stared at the screen for a full 5 minutes. Heart pounding, not from emotion, but suspicion. It was too random, too perfectly timed. And then Ethan's name popped up in a news article a coworker sent me. Local teen arrested. After shoplifting incident, I clicked the photo. His mugshot stared back at me, blurry and defiant. Suddenly, everything made sense. They didn't miss me. They missed what I might have in my bank account. 2 days later, Dad texted. "Just checking in. Proud of you. Hope work's going well." Then came the real message. "Like clockwork, if you're doing okay financially, we could really use your help right now. Things have been tight." I laughed out loud. At work, in front of everyone. They thought they were slick. But something strange happened after that. Instead of rage, I felt. Because for once, I wasn't scrambling. I wasn't begging for scraps. I had keys in my pocket and food in my fridge that no one could charge me rent for, so I texted back, "Sure, I'll stop by this weekend." No emoji. No extra words. Because this time, I wasn't coming over as the desperate son looking for belonging. I was coming as someone they didn't know anymore. And I had a plan. The moment I walked through the front door, I knew it was a performance. The house smelled like fresh cookie smams. Go-to guilt bait. The table was set for 4, even though Ethan was clearly absent. Dad greeted me with a forced grin and an awkward pat on the back, like we were long-lost buddies instead of ghosts orbiting the same family tree. "Look at you," he said, motioning at my button-down. "Real man now? Making it out there all by yourself. Proud of you, son." I bit the inside of my cheek. Proud of me. For what surviving the exile they orchestrated. Mom came in with a tray, eyes misty. "We've missed you," she whispered. Like the past year had been a blurry dream instead of a deliberate silence. We sat, made small talk. They asked about work. I gave polite, generic answers. Then, like clockwork, the real reason crept in. "You know," Mom said, stirring her tea even though she hadn't added sugar with everything going on. "Ethan's situation, the bills piling up, it's just been a lot," Dad chimed in. "We've been talking, and maybe it's time to bring the family back together. You could move back in, help out a bit. You'd have your old room. We can start fresh." I set my fork down, quietly, calmly, and smiled. I bought a place. The silence that followed was heavy, thick enough to chew. "You, what?" Mom blinked. "I have my own place now," I repeated. "Closed last month. Fully mine." Dad sat back, lips thinning. Mom looked like she might cry. But this time it wasn't performative. They thought I'd come back broken. They didn't expect me to come back free. "Wait. You bought a house?" My dad said, the words scraping out of his throat like he couldn't believe they existed. I nodded, reached into my pocket, pulled out the key. It was still on the little tag from closing day, the one that said, "Welcome home," in faded gold letters. I held it up, then flipped my phone over and showed them a photo I'd taken on move-in day. Me standing in the empty living room, floors bare, sun pouring through a cracked window. The address blurred out. "I did it," I said simply. "On my own." My mom's face crumbled. "You didn't even tell us," she whispered, voice trembling like I'd cheated on them. "You kicked me out," I reminded her. "Remember? Said I was a freeloader. Told me I wasn't pulling my weight. So I learned how to carry my own." Dad's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Just a twitch in his jaw, the kind he got when he was trying not to explode. "This is dramatic," Mom snapped suddenly. "We're family. You don't just cut people off because of one disagreement." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flinch. "I didn't cut you off," I said. "You made it very clear where I stood. I was never a son. I was a paycheck. And now that I have something of my own, you want back in? Don't be cold," she hissed. "Don't be selfish." I looked her right in the eye. "I learned it from you." The room fell silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to pause, for the first time in my life. I didn't feel small in that house. I felt done. It didn't take long for the calm to snap. "You ungrateful brat," my dad spat, standing up so fast his chair nearly tipped. "We gave you everything, and this is how you repay us." "Everything?" I asked, still seated. "You charged me rent before I could vote. Ethan's never lifted a finger. Ethan's a child." My mom screamed, her tears suddenly real, but not for me. "He's just going through things, and I didn't." I said quietly. They didn't hear me, or didn't care to. Within minutes, it turned into a full-blown meltdown. Accusations flying. Dad pacing, red in the face, barking about respect and family loyalty. Mom crying about how I was, turning my back on them. I didn't shout back. I didn't cry. I just stood there, listening to the same script I'd heard my whole life, except now. I wasn't buying it. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Ethan. "You think you're better than us now? Just because you bought a crappy little apartment." I didn't reply. I didn't even open the message. I just blocked him. Then Mom, then Dad. The house went silent again as I walked to the door. No one stopped me. I stepped outside. The cool air hitting my face like a reset button. Did I want someone to chase after me? Maybe. But no one did. That night, I unlocked my condo with shaking hands. Set my one duffel bag down in the center of the empty living room. No furniture. No decorations. Just beige walls and my own breathing. I curled up on the carpet with a single blanket. No pillow. No bed, but for the first time in my life, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. I started with a fork and a frying pan from a thrift store down the street. The first night, I burned scrambled eggs so badly they glued themselves to the pan like punishment. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I could. No one was yelling at me. No one was demanding rent for the burnt breakfast. It was my missand. It was mine to clean. Week by week, I picked up furniture off Facebook Marketplace. A stained love seat, a second-hand desk, a lamp that flickered unless I nudged the base just right. Slowly, this empty box became something closer to a home. My home. I taught myself how to cook from TikTok videos and YouTube tutorials. Pasta, stir-fry, budget soups. Every dish felt like an act of rebellion, feeding myself with love no one ever taught me. I found a Discord server full of people who had cut off toxic family. For the first time, I heard stories that mirrored mine. Stories that made me realize I wasn't crazy or cruel. I was just conditioned to believe love was something I had to earn through obedience and silence. So I started journaling. Every morning before work, 10 minutes with a pen. Some days, it was just a sentence. Some days, it poured out like a broken faucet. I bought a dollar store candle and lit it while I wrote. It became my ritual, my anchor. Eventually, I found a therapist who specialized in family trauma. Over video calls, I unpacked years of guilt that didn't belong to me. We talked about patterns, survival modes, the difference between peace and people-pleasing. And one day, it just clicked. I wasn't broken. They just needed me to believe. I was because broken people don't run. It was a few days before Christmas when I saw her name light up my phone. Mom voicemail. My hand hovered over the screen. For a second, I thought about ignoring it completely. But something told me to listen just once. Her voice came through, soft and cracking. "Sweetheart, please. It's Christmas. Just come home. We miss you. Your father and I, we said things, but we never stopped loving you. Ethan asked about you. Please. We need you, even just for dinner. I made your favorite pie." I sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at the blinking voicemail icon. It didn't make me cry. It didn't make me angry. It made me tired. Tired of the manipulation dressed as warmth. Tired of being someone they only remembered when something broke or someone needed saving. So I opened my messages and typed, slow and steady, "Please don't contact me again. I am not your emergency fund. I am not your scapegoat. I am done." I read it 3 times. Hit send, blocked every number. Every thread. The phone went silent, and so did I. Later that evening, stepped out onto my tiny balcony, wrapped in a thrifted blanket. The city lights buzzed in the distance. I cradled a cup of cheap, instant coffee like it was gold. No family yelling in the next room. No doors slamming. No shame pressed into my chest like a brick. Just me, my breath, my home. I looked out into the cold night sky, took a sip, and whispered to no one, "This is home." And for the first time in my life, I believed it.